Hello, everyone. Nice to see some familiar faces. Hello, Mark, Jimmy, Christophe back from France. Lovely to see you. Nandini and Barbara, hello, welcome. And of course, welcome to Brenda. We come to that in a moment. That's what I see at the moment. I think there are some more on the other page. So welcome everybody, nice to be back with you for Mystic Matters. Once again, we owe this opportunity to our uprising internet star, EJ, online star, Zoom star. So thank you everyone, and we look forward very much to this afternoon. I must say, just reading what EJ has written about you, Belinda, is most exciting. So I'm really looking forward to this. So welcome everyone, and I pass over to EJ to introduce Belinda. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thanks, Celia. So yeah, we've got a household name in our midst. Belinda Silbert is quite a well-known TV and radio psychic medium. And you will probably recognize her from programs such as Making Contact and Your Date with Destiny. But for me, the connection also, is quite personal. 12 years ago, my father passed away, and I had a lot of deaths in my family. It was my cousin who passed away, my brother, and my father and my grandfather. And, the reading that I had from Belinda was just so spot on and, quite scarily accurate, even talking about my great-grandfather that I didn't even know about. And then I also did a psychic development workshop with her. And, it's also the reason why I changed my name. As Belinda told me about my spiritual name, Joshua. Yeah, so the connection is very personal for me as well, and I'm absolutely thrilled to have her here. But of course, Belinda is more than just a psychic medium. She's also an opera singer, and I had the privilege of, attending one of her performances. And then someone for whom music and spiritual awareness really go hand in hand. So not only does she help people through the work that she does as a medium, she also touches people's lives with her music. And of course, in the work that she's doing as a rabbi in training, and I'll ask her to also speak more about that. And, she's currently, bringing about an online congregation called Ani Lidodi. And she will tell us more about that as well. So welcome, Belinda.
Thank you so much, EJ. And it's very, very exciting to see you again, even though it's through the screen. And to meet all of these very special people who I do not believe are here by coincidence. I have never seen the universe to be chaotic, even though it often appears to be so. And the topic that I'm going to be speaking about today is Kabbalah. And the word Kabbalah comes from the word kibel, which is to receive. And what Kabbalah truly is the essence of Judaism. It is that elixir that is at the heart of everything. And it mitigates this need to worship the law, or this trap that we sometimes fall into. Because for those of us who are mystics, our greatest desire is to commune, or even, I would say, ultimately we desire union with the One. And Kabbalah is the path that can enable one to aspire to that. So Kabbalah can be used as a guide rather than as a restriction. For many years, people have kind of shied away from it, and it's been shrouded in mystery. and there is indeed a great body of mythology attached. So I will touch on the context and the history of Kabbalah, but more than anything, I want to give you a sense of the flavor of what this is and the experiential aspect and the principles of a subject that appears to be never ending. It's like a rabbit hole that one dives into, and then there is just another and another and another tunnel. And what I really love, again, proving to me that there's no coincidence, is that today is the birthday of Rabbi Israel ben Eliezer, who was the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of Hasidism, and he was born on the 25th of August, 1698. He was an astounding healer and mystic from Ukraine. And the work that I do and the philosophy that I follow, Neo-Hasidism, is derived from this incredible passion and love that the Hasids found in their, what some would immediately infer to be panentheism, seeing God everywhere. That's why I refer to my synagogue as being one, as a temple. Tov realized that God is everywhere, in everything. The presence permeates all that is, and that we need to serve God through joy. And this was very different from the usual very somber idea of making God almost and serving God an intellectual exercise. And Kabbalah, when truly practiced, gives one that sense of ecstasy. It is a path to be entered into with respect and awe, but it is truly, as I say, an elixir. If you want to climb a ladder, you cannot immediately reach the top rung from the bottommost step. You must climb gradually. However, when you speak to God, you contemplate, you can ascend directly from the bottommost rung of consciousness to the very top. Now, this can only occur if you carry out all of your actions thoughtfully. Then you will immediately stand in the presence of God. So says Rabbi Dov Ber of Mezerich. Kabbalah enables us to do this very thing by providing us with both an internal and an external map. This map is one that is a tree of life with its roots in heaven. It's upside down, and its branches here in our dimension, right here on earth. And it is strange to be teaching Kabbalah without any imagery, and yet it is very freeing, because if I were to give you the tree of life as a representation, you would immediately focus on the archetypal dots that you would see there, which coincide with the desirable traits, the traits that we attribute to God. And then we would be taken away once again from the essence of the tree of life, because we would be stuck in the intellect. So I'm going to go back to the beginning, to the time that was no time, and the assertion that Kabbalah contains the codes and the secrets of the origin of the very multiverse itself. I'm going to cross-reference here and maybe hybridize and some terms merely because we're bound semantically. Words are so limiting. What I love is that when we're studying Kabbalah, we can work with the Hebrew. English is not always adequate. So here and there, I'm going to maybe co-opt a Greek term, a Latin one, but I'm going to speak about Homo Usias, which is not, as you know, a traditionally Jewish term. And how am I going to use this when I speak of Kabbalah? It's in order to explain how I see God creating this entire universe. The idea of same substance, but different forms. Imagine for a moment steam. The steam becomes condensation. Different form, most definitely the same substance. Condensation drips down, becomes water, And ultimately, in its densest form, that water becomes ice. When we look at the tree of life and we imagine God as though God is up there and we are down here, and again, we are being bound by very earthly concepts of distance and time, which of course do not exist when we truly explore multidimensionally. We can just think of God as the steam and as the tree of life, as God creates the multiverse, filtering down through the tree of life, creating the higher beings, let's say the angels. For example, the angels might be the condensation. There may be other higher beings that are the water. Eventually, we get to our state, which is in the world of Malchut, of the lower sovereignty, and we, in our fleshly form, are the ice cubes. What's so great about ice? It's that ice can melt. And in understanding this map of the tree of life, we understand that we do have the tools for the redemption, for repairing both ourselves and the world itself. The term is called tikkun, and that the possibility of ascension can occur because that ice can melt and that part of God that is now hidden within us can defrost and move up the tree until we are once more one with that steam. So what we are truly dealing with here is God's immanence and God's transcendence. In early Judaism, God's immanence was not really a matter of concern. It was not even an I, thou. It was, I'm here, and then we have this very patriarchal, possibly paternalistic, punitive entity. However, I like to think more in the terms of Martin Buber's I, thou. And indeed, in Kabbalah, we are drawn into not only an I, thou experience, but a search for the beloved. What is this when I speak about the Homo Usias and us being the same stuff? The beloved becomes hidden. So at that moment in time, at the beginning of the time that was no time, in Aramaic, in Tikkunei HaZohar, the document, it says, Leit atar panu minea, no sight, as in S-I-T-E, is devoid of him. So here we have the panentheist type of vibe, which is expanded in Hasidism. There is nowhere where God is not, because God is the Ein Sof. So then how could we come to be? What happened is that God contracted itself. It's called the Tzimtzum. If you've ever seen any modern dancers, they contract their muscles. Imagine that you're squeezing in your stomach muscles, that you're trying to squash into a crowd or to say, excuse me, to get into a train. You leave an empty hollow when you contract your muscles, but you're still there. Then, of course, you let your breath out afterwards. But that space, that void that was created by the contraction of the allness is that void in which creation could take place, in which everything could occur in that vacuum. There's a paradox here, a very, very difficult paradox to engage with, because the void is defined almost as the absence of the presence of God. However, without the presence of God, the void could not exist, and the presence continues. It's merely that opening. And for me, it's God's diminution as we go down the tree of life, not in that God becomes diminished, but that we start this game of almost the hiding. Where is the beloved hidden? Until it is hidden so deeply within us that it is hard to find. So this archetypal of world, after the Tzimtzum, we have this vacant void called the Halal Panui. And in this emptiness started from this idea, the creation itself. And I'm going to now insert just for a minute some of the context and some of the mythology. Because we are mystics, and as I said before, we're acquiring and we are yearning for this union with the beloved, and we're seeking the beloved, I don't think we need to concern ourselves immensely with the history, which can be found and looked up very easily. And not even mythology, but to get it's just a nice kind of background. So it's believed that this knowledge was given initially to Moses on Mount Sinai by God, direct revelation. Then there are those who believe it was taught by God to the angels, and the angels still study it on the higher planes to this day. Then it's thought that, like the Promethean fire, the angels passed it on to humankind so that the sons and daughters of man could once again ascend to the immortal state. Then we've got Metatron added into the equation, who gave it to Adam, Noah, and then Abraham. So there's a lot of mythology over there. But truly, the first manuscripts made their appearance in the 1400s, 1500s, 1600s, 1700s. And we have the manuscripts of the Zohar that most people are aware of. We have the Bahir, and some earlier documents. However, the mystic seeks an immediate and a direct relationship with God. And what is so wonderful about the Kabbalah is that it is inscribed within us, in our DNA, on our souls, on every part of our souls and within us. And so, as mystics, we can actually read that document without having to refer to the external sources. We can tune into it in our search for the beloved. And it is my belief and my personal experience that we can experience it for ourselves, and that every single Kabbalist who is born, we can call them a Mekubal, which means the one who receives, or Mekubelet. In the past, of course, that's the feminine form. It was not acknowledged that there could be females who had this direct reception. But every Kabbalist who is born has a different key. So you're not going to get the whole from only one Kabbalist. And in every generation, there's a Kabbalist who's going to give another key that you can insert into an additional lock that is going to clarify a little bit more about how we're going to understand the creation of the world and how to find the divinity that is hidden, and also how we're going to repair this world that is so damaged. So the tree of life that Madonna has popularized and others in the pop Kabbalah, it looks like almost a DNA helix, a spiral on one hand. We have got 10 worlds. We've got 10, you can see them as though they are 10 spheres. And they have got names, and they're called Sphirot, these 10 worlds. There is also an 11th one that is hidden, and I will tell you why shortly. But the word Sphira is an interesting one because it doesn't mean worlds. It means a few things. It means Sefer, which is a book to be read. It's from the word mispar, which is, of course, a number. And there's a lot of sacred geometry involved in studying the tree of life. And it's also not just the archetypal attributes of God that we're going to be speaking of. Because when we look at these worlds, we realize there's a lot to aspire to. Here is our guide. What is it that we want to emulate? What with our limited vision that we can articulate, and well, that we can see, and our limited forms of articulation that we can express, and our processor, that is the brain, what is it that we can perceive? Here we are on the bottommost rung of a ladder. So I didn't use the imagery of the ladder in vain, because at the very bottom here in Malchut, you'll see what is called the sovereignty. This is our sphere, the Sphira of Malchut. Above that is one that is called Yesod, which is the basis, it's the foundation. Then above that we have Hod, we have victory, and Netzach. Netzach, which is a victory, and Hod, which is glory. You'll notice that sometimes there are concepts that appear to be allied to one another and aligned with one another. And I call these the twins, when we have Hod and Netzach, and later we have Gvura and Chesed. And this is to do with the balance of the multiverse itself. The thing is that the tree of life is valuable to us because what is death? What is the cessation of existence? It is stasis. The moment nothing moves, the moment everything is balanced, the moment the seesaw cannot move, nothing is in existence anymore. There's complete stasis, there's complete lack of movement. So the tree of life and understanding these qualities, which can, within themselves, they all have a duality or even a spectrum. For example, when we get to Gevurah, which is bravery, and Chesed, which is mercy, there always has to be an imbalance, even a slight imbalance. Otherwise, the whole tale, the whole narrative of those of us being kept and stored in God's memory in this space where God is and God isn't would cease to be. Then we have Binah and Chokhmah. We have wisdom and understanding. And at the very top, we have Keter, which is the crown. Isn't it astounding that at the top of the tree, although I say indeed that really we could switch it around and think of that not as being as at the Keter being the roots, we have kingdom, God in the kingdom above, and us in the so-called kingdom below. It's the immediate clue that we need to look up, that we need to become kings and queens of our world. And how much more so now at a time when there is climate change, when there is plague, how much more so that we need to look and address where these imbalances are. Do we need more victory, this Netzach? Do we need more glory? Or can we find what the positive side, the side that is the gentler and the more nurturing aspect of every single one of these archetypal qualities is, that is going that we can add into the mix. When we go through this map, we can say, you know what, there's too much chokhmah going on. For example, it's so easy to get bound up in the intellect and to get bound up into enjoying studying for study's sake. There are traps all over here, and there are wonderful things, because without the desire to receive for the sake of sharing, everything collapses. And this is one of the primary reasons for Kabbalah. It was so that human beings would have the capacity to give, not only to receive, because we've received all this bounty from above. And if we can't do something with it, and that includes sometimes making mistakes, then again, the entire story doesn't make sense. We might say it doesn't in any case. And yet, within every part of this tree, it's like babushka dolls. There's a layer, there are layers upon layers. There's a tree in every single one of these worlds. So in Malchut, here we are in the world of sovereignty. We think we are inferior, and yet when we realize that we are the progeny of this mighty sovereign, it stops us from having false humility. It also gives us the sense of absolute awe, which balances out where we think we are so minute, so insignificant, yet we are the children of kings. We're expected to behave like a king. So as we look up to every single one of these worlds on this tree of life, we aspire to be better, and we aspire to not create more balance, but to draw upon the positive aspects of each one of these archetypal qualities of God. This, of course, is one system of philosophy, and it's very, very difficult to kind of condense what Kabbalah is in a few minutes, because it is an entire lifetime of study, probably many, many lifetimes of study. So what is it? It's an internal map. It's an external map. It's something you can see on a page that you can use it wherever you are. It'll meet you wherever you are. If a person feels lost, you can sit them down and you can say, come, let's help you to be more brave. Let's tap into that quality of incredible courage that God has. If somebody does not appear to be merciful, we can help to teach them about grace and how to become merciful. If somebody has an inflated ego where they think they are the cleverest one in the whole world, you say, okay, now hang on. That's not good enough. We've got 3 ways of interpreting wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And then we have a hidden svira called da'at, which is that aha moment. So you may be clever, but you may not be wise. Let's have a look at our map. And then we can also say to ourselves, wow, and none of this exists in a chronological, linear manner. How limited we are and how lucky we are to have some of these rabbit holes to dive into. You start wherever you are. As Reb Dov said earlier, even if you're on the bottommost rung, you can actually, through that intention and prayer, in a moment, it could happen to anybody, reach that enlightenment. So here we are on Malchut, here we are aspiring. And I think for me that what besides wanting that oneness with God, I think that I want the tree of life, not the tree of knowledge. There's not just one tree here at all. And Kabbalah shows us how easily we are deceived. It helps us to keep on checking in. Hang on, am I really, really, really just doing this to know? Or am I ready to abandon all reason and all intellect and to say, I am seeking you, my beloved, in each one of these sfirot. So what is the other important thing about Kabbalah? It's the opportunity to repair the world and ourselves. What I presented here, talking about the tree of life, is just because it's the most familiar part. But it is believed that God spoke the world into existence through the sound and the light current, through words. It teaches us not only to guard our speech, but about the holiness in Judaism of the Hebrew language, of the Yud He Vav He, the holy name of God, and of the vowels themselves. So Kabbalah has got an intellectual aspect to it, intellectual pursuit, but it also has a practical, very meditative part to it. And I practice that part every day. And I guess that for me, that's more the avenue than anything else. And then it has the magical part that people have been so afraid of for years. So practical Kabbalah. I'm sure that most of you have heard the story about the Golem of Prague. So many years ago, the Jews of Prague were being persecuted as usual, as we have been for so many centuries. And some Kabbalistic rabbis got together and they created this creature through practical Kabbalah, through magic, through permutations of God's name. They made amulets and they sealed and they put on the forehead, the golem. So they created this creature out of earth, but put the right words, the right combination of words in order to animate this zombie. And it was animated and it did its work. Unfortunately, since it did not have a soul, it ran rampant and did a lot of damage. And the legend is quite astounding. It's supposed to actually still be lying there somewhere in Prague. They had to remove the words from it, the amulet, whatever you would like to call it, the holy permutations of letters, in order to disable it. So Kabbalah is not something to be trifled with, because with the word becoming flesh, and again, I know that the concepts would be interpreted in a different way in other religions, but here we are the word made flesh. We are combinations of the Yud He Vav He. It is believed that we have the image of the divine. We're made in the image of the divine, the Tselem, And what is that Tselem? It's certainly not just our flesh, because we don't believe in an anthropomorphic God. But possibly, Greg Braden's work was quite interesting in that he wrote a book, The God Code, in which he showed how those letters, Yehovah, the Yud He Vav He, which we're not permitted to pronounce in the entirety, can actually be exchanged with the letters of our DNA to show to what degree we are encoded. So not only are we encoded with the desire to emulate God's qualities, but God is hiding inside us in our very DNA. And so when one does Kabbalah with the meditation, there's a lot of prayer involved. There's a lot of permutations, mixtures of the holy letters and the vowels themselves. And I think this is particularly important because we're sitting here in the world of Malchut. We are in our flesh. We are moving meat bags. And yet this is holy. We're told that our bodies are holy because these are the vehicles for the divine. These are the vehicles that enable us to make even the most mundane acts holy by blessing, by intention. And so as we pray and as we articulate and as we permute the letters, we are changing not only our own realities, but everything that we do has a butterfly effect throughout the entire multiverse. I don't use the word universes because as one gets even deeper into Kabbalah, we don't only have the worlds that we're speaking about in the Sfirot, but there are other references to universes. So I am talking about the quantum idea, or in quantum physics really, of the multiverse. And what's so strange is that the Kabbalah is thousands of years old, and yet there are many scientific theories that are now making great sense when viewed through the lens of the Kabbalah. And for me, it is a path that is very powerful because we don't think that in the commandments we're not allowed to worship idols. And so this is a big one. This is a big one in Judaism. You know, do not make false gods, do not worship idols, basically. And yet it is so easy to be drawn into worshiping the law and forgetting the hidden beloved. I have called my congregation, the congregation that I founded. A congregation is certainly not one person, so I'm hoping it's going to expand a lot. Ani ledodi, I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine. And that is very much something that is aligned with the search and the longing as a mystic to find that beloved. And I don't feel that one finds it by worshiping only the letter of the law, because one can cut God out of the equation completely. And it's a very naked space when you go into the space using Kabbalah. Kabbalah is not a religion. This is one of the things that has become quite distressing for me, is when people speak about Kabbalah as separate from Judaism, where it has been taken into other traditions. It eventually went into the Western tradition, but it's been adopted into the magical traditions as Kabbalah with a C or a Q, and it's become corrupted. These are strong words, but I feel that if one does not understand the origins, more than the origins, what the language that God has made engraved within us, if one does not understand the context, if one does not understand the commandments, and one does not understand the evolution and the way of understanding the Bible by looking through it, using a lens to look through it and not just examining the surface and the laws, then I feel that it is sad, because you cannot promote the idea of Kabbalah as separate from Judaism. Kabbalah is Judaism. It is at the very, 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 very core. I'm hoping that this has given you a little bit of a sense of what the philosophy truly is. And for those who are Sufis, I think that there may well be some resonance. Definitely has been a cross-pollination, especially in the Golden Age. There were certainly rabbis and imams who got together in the Sufi tradition, cross-pollinated with Kabbalah, and the search for the beloved, I feel, probably has a commonality in both traditions. I would like to say that what is so astounding is that as one works with finding God in these hiding places, we start understanding that our vision is so limited, internally, externally. The Icelandic Inuit have over 100 words for ice. And in Kabbalah, there are a myriad of words for light. We think that light is whatever, switching on the light bulb, looking outside, is it a very cloudy day? But the qualities of light and the qualities are actually aligned with the idea of the Ein Sof. And eventually we understand that light and darkness are all one, because that ultimate light that permeates everything can't even be seen. But as one prays, as one meditates, one actually starts perceiving different levels of light, and they can be named. There are some meditations, and one increases them in intensity, where you actually experience light in its different forms. And I think for me, that's what it means to become enlightened. I feel as though I'm a vessel, and there's a little more light poured into me each time. It's no coincidence that the Hebrew words for skin and the Hebrew words for light sound the same, but they have one letter difference. Or is the word for light and the word for skin. And as you become more enlightened, as you allow more of God into you, you start becoming, it shines out your skin. Eventually, you're no longer a meat bag. You ascend. You become light, and you return to the source. And I think that this is would be a very, very good note to end on, and to throw this, the discussion open to the floor. Thank you.
Wow, Belinda, that was amazing. Thank you. I was actually being sneaky, and I sent a WhatsApp message to Celia to say that we are in for a treat today, because you are speaking the language of the mystics. So, we are really blessed. Yeah, just from my side, maybe just a question, because so many people have said, that the Kabbalah is so complex, you can spend many lifetimes to study it. It can be very daunting. So for someone, who would like to study more about the Kabbalah, where can we start?
With me. I do teach. So now I'm going to switch off the heater. Oh my gosh, it's I've heated myself up as I was talking about the light, etc. I got hotter and hotter. Right. So basically, I start with the basics of helping people to understand what this path is, and then we have a look at the tree of life. So anybody can look at the pictorial representation of the tree of life and those concepts, and begin to understand that we're made b'tselem, in the image of God. So Kabbalah will meet you where you are. It's a self-limiting pursuit. It is not an easy path. So it kind of, people will drop out when they get to a certain stage. You'll get what you need out of it, because yes, it can become incredibly complex, and one experiences the most spectacular phenomena. So some people get stuck on that level, and that's not the level you should get stuck on either. So then they're out. It's like snakes and ladders. Anytime one starts getting puffed out with the ego, something happens and whoosh, you're right back where you started. It is, you know, it's absolutely amazing. It's the one thing you cannot study with ego, because you suddenly realize you're in the presence of something so mighty. So, but it will meet you where you are. One cannot say nobody can study Kabbalah. This is the era in which one needs to share the light as much as possible. My issue is when what is taught is not the original, and people don't know. There's one school of thought, which is of course a very famous Kabbalah school, that really believes you can, you know, absorb it via osmosis. All you have to do is scan the page, you scan the Hebrew, okay, and seriously, you might know which organization, I'm certainly not saying it is, and you've absorbed the energy of the day. Kabbalah requires you to bring you. No, you can't just absorb God by osmosis. So some people will spend many hundreds of thousands studying in that manner and buying the Zohar. Buying all this entire Zohar is not going to make you a Kabbalist. The Kabbalist is saying, God, here I am, Hineni, I'm here. Little me, can you hear me, please? I'm looking for you. I desire you. It is a desire that is beyond any human desire for a lover. And I think this is the frustration and the amazing yearning of the mystic. But not everybody who studies Kabbalah has got exactly, you know, that yearning. But whatever you bring, you can work with, but you can go as deep as you need to go. Unfortunately, one of my very special friends of many, many years standing, who has studied with me for over 20 years, passed a few weeks ago. And she got to an incredibly high level. So I miss her, but she was ready. She knew what to do and where to go. And I understood from what she was experiencing in her meditation before that something was, that she was ready. So it will meet you where you are. So everybody can learn Kabbalah. What's important is intention. In Hebrew, the word kavanah means both intention and direction. So you've got to steer your ship with the wrong intention. If someone comes with the wrong intention, they can do terrible damage to themselves and to others through learning Kabbalah. You know, just learning technical stuff. There are some places that would refer to themselves as mystery schools that teach some of the combinations of God's name. You cannot ever literally take God's name in vain, because you will release a power that can be all-consuming. The same as with the angels, and there's a lot of angelology in Kabbalah. There are schools that teach angels' names that should never be pronounced, because letters are holy in Hebrew. And that lets us in a whole influx of energy people can't contain. So those are the provisos that one has to come into the path and just say to God, Hineni. With me, what is so strange is that I was born into what I call a family of atheist academic, you know, absolute Jews, traditional Jews, really, really, really left-brained. And yet when I was very small, I had a kind of a Samuel experience, or was literally where I experienced God calling me, and I said, here I am, and I was very small. Some would say it's because of my temporal lobe epilepsy, which I only discovered far later in my 30s. I would say that my temporal lobe epilepsy actually facilitates the visions, the same as Hildegard von Bingen, who my neurologist always loves as a case study in migraines and temporal lobe epilepsy. But either way, it's that feeling of either you bring yourself to the table and say, here I am, or God will call you. I guess that's why it's called a calling. That's why a priesthood is a calling, which you understand so much.
Wow. Well, you've given us so much to unpack, and before I hop the conversation, I'll open it up to anyone who would like to say something or ask something. Please feel free.
Yes, Celia. You're still muted? There we are. Great. Thanks.
My goodness, thank you so very much. Every sentence is packed with so much, and I didn't bring a notebook, so I didn't mark down everything. So I think we'll have to ask you to come back maybe take each section a little bit more. I mean, it's quite amazing. There are a couple of things that I thought I'd like to ask you. The search for the beloved, the link with the Sufis, that's so beautiful. But of course, in Western mystical literature, this is the theme over and over and over again. Whether you're male or female, it's the search for the beloved. So, in a sense, does the Kabbalah link up with the Song of Songs in the Hebrew Bible? And the other element of it all, among many, this last aspect you spoke about, the light, becoming the light body, being more and more enlightened. Does that link up in any way with this idea of ongoing evolution post-death in terms of this ever-growing light? And okay, there's a lot more, but let me stop there because, thank you, I'd love to just hear your views on that.
Pleasure, that's perfect. Okay, so I'm just trying to remember the first point. So the light is the never-ending light, but it also does pertain to the possibility of ascension. There's been a great deal that has been spoken of in the New Age movement, so taking it out of the Christian context where ascension is already known to be possible. And in Judaism, ascension isn't spoken of except where we've had people going up in chariots. We've got our examples in the Bible, but it's not something we're encouraged to think about. That is possible that a person, and then of course we've got the mystery of Enoch as well. So I would say that this idea of becoming light is that it could happen literally, that somebody could become an ascended master. We would not refer to that in Judaism. And also that it definitely does refer to the other realms post-death. But that opens up so many debates because there is the idea of the loose bone, which also ties in with Kabbalah as to why one can't be cremated, and the idea of resurrection after death. So again, we come up against conflicting ideas, but the enlightenment is, it's almost a natural consequence of the search for the beloved, because everything else doesn't taste the same anymore. It means nothing. The material world, the pursuits outside of oneself mean nothing. All you want more and more and more of this light. But then again, we become aware of our choice, of our obligation to repair. And I think this is what actually prevents most of us from ascending, because we are incarnated with our examination paper, and you have to tick off all your mistakes, and you've got to repair the world. So we've got de facto, not de jure, but let's just say in theory and in reality. Maybe this is why they're not more ascensions, because, and I do believe we have to be in the world and of it. There's no free pass. I would love to go and sit in some hut on the top of the mountains in the Himalayas or wherever. I would love to, and just not be of the world. And the craving is there, but I know that I have to be in the world and of it. The Song of Songs of Solomon that you referred to, yes, that's very much part of Kabbalah. You see, everything is encoded. Everything in Kabbalah is written is code. Hebrew is code. And the Song of Songs is not just allegorical, and it's not just metaphorical. It can be studied and plumbed. Its depths can be plumbed in so many different ways, and it's a magical, literally magical piece of writing. It's almost like an insult for me to call it a piece of writing, but it contains all those secrets. So you have really focused on something that's very, very, very special, and that search for the beloved. And it gets to a certain point where you realize that there is no human that could ever satisfy that yearning. What is discouraged in Judaism, strange enough, is celibacy and to become a monk or a nun. However, when one follows this path, you come up against this conundrum, because no human would suffice. You want not just communion, which is possible as you follow the path, but that union, which can only come after ascension. But I think that, again, my guess is that if I were to meet you and your other mystics, that it doesn't matter what tradition you're in, you'd experience the same thing, or you'd have to find another human who's at least on that same path with that search. And I think that has been my greatest challenge, because there's a certain stage where it's not possible to relate outside of that Song of Songs type of framework.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Pleasure. Hi, yes, Mark.
Thank you. And thank you very much for your speech. This was and still is extremely interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a question regarding tarot. I believe there's an approach in tarot that's very closely linked to the Kabbalah tree of life. And I was wondering what your assessment or views would be on that.
Right. So the Golden Dawn has actually, as a mystery school, were the ones who have really codified that in detail. And the link wasn't originally there. The tarot is very, very ancient. But when Kabbalah was co-opted into the Western mystery schools and into Western mysticism, there were certain correlations that were drawn, and one can use tarot quite powerfully, but it becomes archetypal. What is interesting is that one can also start working with the sacred geometry and the 22 paths and getting into 30. So there's a lot, and it's an entire study on its own. But insofar as Judaism and Tarot, Tarot was never part of Judaism, and I have actually had asked before, where someone actually thought that those two things developed right in alignment, in parallel, and they didn't. But tarot in conjunction with that Kabbalistic understanding is very, very powerful, and again has to be used with the right kavanah, the right intention and direction. Thank you. Very, very important question. Anybody else? Sure, it's already for wait. What is 4 a limit?
No.
Okay, it's not a 4:15, because I would like to see if there are any other questions, and then with your permission, maybe I can take people into a Kabbalistic meditation.
Would love that. So I don't want to hog a conversation, but maybe another question from my side. The kingdom of God is a concept that is, quite strong in Christianity, and, Jesus was Jewish. So obviously, he got his concept from the Jewish world. Can you maybe elaborate a bit more about the concept of the kingdom of God in Kabbalah?
Ooh, wonderful. Thank you very much. So Keter is kind of the point which almost I would call the portal to, or the forecourt of the palace of God. But thereafter, there are many, many, many levels, the 7 heavens, the 7 universes. So there's a lot written about that, but the kingdom of God itself, so something's echoing here, and the hierarchy, there is a lot that's spoken about in Kabbalah. And if you remember, we had the course with the angels. The angels are assigned their tasks. We kind of have got middle management, executive management, and the ultimate. But what is interesting to me is, again, breaking out of human thinking, realizing, and for me, the greatest thing is the idea of infinity, that which never begins and never ends. Because for me, beyond Keter, beyond that palace of God, is almost negative infinity. And how can infinity be negative? It's the thought before the thought. There are the veils of iron, of nothingness, of no thingness. And that is the true kingdom of God. Maybe it's the black matter of the universe that is always spoken about. It's the allness. It is maybe the sun, as in the sun, that feeling of returning to the sun, maybe that's the true kingdom, where we are completely and utterly back in the omniscience and the omnipresence, and will become, well, we're back in the omniscience, and we lose our individuality. So before that, there are various levels, and it's all part of God's kingdom. So I would say the kingdom of God is here too. That's why we are in Malchut, in sovereignty. We have that reminder. And this is why we cover our heads, because it's a constant reminder that you are in the kingdom of God. Remember it. Guard your speech, guard your thoughts, do good. And so it extends infinitely and beyond that point. And it's, yeah, so it's again, it's that which is outside time and outside of space. It is the allness, it's the Ein Sof, the never-ending light. I hope I haven't confused the issue more.
No, no, such rich, themes that you are touching upon that, we can really chat like this for hours, and I agree with you. It's quite an auspicious, date with it being the birthday of Baal Shem Tov. And, I remember when I studied theology, there was this one story in a book about a rabbi whose grandfather was a disciple of Baal Shem Tov. And his grandfather was in a wheelchair, and he was telling the story of how Baal Shem Tov used to dance, and he got so carried away that he got out of his wheelchair, and that he was completely healed, and it was such a beautiful story about the power of stories, and the power that's just contained in that. So thanks for sharing that with us. I just thought I would share this story.
Thank you so much. That's beautiful. That's the real ecstatic experience that we lack. And in the intellectual part of Judaism, where there is that, that separation, it's been very, very difficult to find that the joy and that I, thou, because the Hasidim will go and they'll lie in a mirror and they'll, in a river and shout, Abba, Father. But we, what is so strange is I come from a very long lineage of the opposite of the Hasidim. They were called the Mitnagdim. They were opposed to the Hasidim and were the intellectuals. So maybe this is part of my karma to return to this other place of this incredible joy, which is so healing. Thank you so much for the beautiful story. Anybody else? Okay, then let's go into the meditation. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, first of all, not to fixate on following every instruction that I give you. I'd like you to just allow your bodies to move with it, allow your eyes to move as I tell you, but not to try and just hear and follow the instructions, to just be with it. We're going to experience different forms of light, and we're just going to take a little bit of a journey through the universe. What we're going to do, first of all, is that gift that we're given by being on earth is to be in alignment with the tides of the sea, with everything that exists on earth. So you can just close your eyes, and when I ask you to breathe, please breathe through your mouth, not through your nose, and in an aspirated way so that you can hear the sea. So for example, right. So that's the example of the breathing you're going to do. So to just be still, relax, and you're going to breathe in and out. Breathe in with the tides of the sea and out. And once more, breathe in with the tides of the sea and out. Now just be completely relaxed. Beloved Mother, Father God, I bring into your presence your wonderful children on this day. And we know that we are made of the same substance of the entire universe. We are made of the same substance as every grain of sand in the sea, of every atom and the spaces between the atoms. We are right here and right now. We know that wherever we are, you are. There's nowhere we can go where you are not. At this moment, we just allow our bodies to rest so completely and relax in the chair back on earth, because we are held, we are safe, We know that our bodies can just wait here for us to be ironed out and rejuvenated on earth, and we can allow our spirits to soar free because we're in a safe space. We're made of the same stuff as every bit of water in all the oceans in this world. And we are made of the same stuff as God itself. Right here and right now, I'd like you to just relax your eyes, allow them to become soft. Let your eyes move to the left and see a bright white light, to the center dull gold light, to the right a bright silver light, to the center dull gold light, to the left a bright white light, the center dull gold light, to the right bright silver light, the center dull gold light. Roll your eyes up to the back of your head, back, and the back of your head, and allow both sides of your skull to part, and look into the inky blackness of eternity, the allness, and allow yourself to just break free and to do a little bit of a dance into the universe. And you see little specks of light, and you dance from star to star, and you allow yourself to go back, moving a bit forward and now a bit back, through the eons, 100 years ago, 200, 300, 400, feeling very, 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 very warm. Such a relief, so soft and so loved. It's a strange sensation to feel loved as you never have before, more loved than you have ever felt is possible, and just moving. There's a warm wind above you and below you, and you're just moving through the entire universe, and you feel soft wings around you. And you're aware that there is nowhere where there is nothing. Everywhere is filled with the presence and the glory of that oneness of the never-ending light. And you allow yourself to be there in that space just for a little bit more, and then you bring yourself back into your head. You close the back of your skull, and you're back in your head. Your body's completely relaxed. And allow your eyes, right eye to the right, see a bright white light to the center, a silver light to the left, a bright white light, the center, dull gold light, the left, a bright white light, the center, gold light. Roll your eyes up to the top of your head. Allow both sides of your skull to open. As you gaze up and you see this deep, impenetrable purple, and suddenly you explode into this beautiful purple, and you understand this too is eternity, and out you go, and it's so safe, and you feel yourself ducking and diving and just flying around, and you feel this warm wind above you and below you, and you're turning and turning and turning and turning, and you hear voices, and you're aware of the slight breeze, and you're aware that there are angels all around you, and you never knew that you were never alone as a being, that you are part of this allness, that there is a divine right order. You are made of the same stuff, and your mind is a center of divine operation. Yes, your mind is a center of divine operation. Nothing that is not good can enter into you, because you are light. You are pure light. Only that which is of the Holy Spirit and of the light can enter into you. The Ruach Elokim Chayim. Your mind is the center of divine operation. Your body is the center of divine operation. Suddenly there's a wish only to put into your body that which is holy, that which is healthy. Anything that it does not serve your highest good or your health has got no place in your body, mind, or spirit. There's a feeling of elation and ecstasy as you realize that you are not limited. You see this light just pouring into your body. Which one is you? The one in the chair or the one above? Which one is you? Look down, look up again. You're aware that you're above and you're this body of light, and you're pouring light into your body. Your body on earth is becoming more and more and more filled with health, with well-being, with love. And now bring yourself back up, back into your head. Close the top of your head. Allow your eyes to just relax. Through your left eye, see a bright green light. Through your right eye, see a bright blue light. Now through your left eye, see a bright blue light. To the right eye, through it, see a bright green light. Now, at the same time, see a green light and a blue light, one through each eye. Look through, that's it. So you develop your inner sight, and you're aware that there are so many different forms of light, and you feel lighter. Put your left hand over your heart, and now put your right hand over your left hand. And it's so easy to be able to use your body, even though you're aware that the real you is not the body. So your body is listening to you. And feel who is beating your heart. It is not you. It is that never-ending one, the beloved, your wholeness, which you are integral. And you feel loved as never before. Feel the love of the one, of the divine, and drop your hands to your lap. And you're aware of who is breathing. Who is this? Who is closer to you than your breathing? And you're aware that you're being breathed at this moment by the Ruach, the holy breath of God. Ruach Elohim Chayim. Feeling better than ever before in your entire life. As you allow yourself very gently to realign with your body. Allow your light body to just realign. That's it. Fit into your skin. Skin fitting into light. Light fitting into skin. Realigning. Knowing that all is God. That you have within yourself these sparks that you can collect and put together, shattered pieces of a mirror, and yet in each shattered piece of the mirror is the whole picture, is you and is God and is all the world. We repair and we put it together, fitting in your light body, or against or, feeling better than ever before in your life. And now returning to 2021, aware that you're back, feeling 10 years younger, every ache and pain having left your body, feeling that you have the wisdom of all the ages, as indeed you do, as you went back to the beginning of time that is no time, older than you've ever felt before, and yet in your body itself, so you are 10 years younger. So 1,000,000 years wiser and 10 years younger. When you're ready, allow your eyes just to be where they were before, completely relaxed, and open your eyes. Come back to this world, Malchut.
Thank you. I think I can go to sleep now. That was so relaxing. Maybe before we end, can you tell us a bit more about Ani Lidori?
Yes, certainly. Thank you. So it's a Neo Hasidic congregation. The idea is that we're all inclusive. So anybody can drop in for the services. You don't have it. You can, maintain your own beliefs. It's a way of just spreading the light that there is, of me making my contribution, what I know, what I would like to share. And I feel that my role as a rabbi certainly is not a traditional one, but it is one where I meet you where you are. And it's literally what I want to do is to see the divinity in each person. And I feel that in this congregation, we can collectively put together all of those shattered pieces of the mirror, which are also part of that Kabbalistic notion, and that together we can be greater. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. So the services will be and are partially in Hebrew, partially in English, lots of singing, of course, because for me, that's the ultimate vibration, as you said before. When I sing, then for me, that's when it all happens and when it all comes together. So everybody is welcome to join us. And there is a Facebook page. It's called Belinda Silbert's Cyber Yeshiva. And that's where you'll get all of the information for the different services. And I do post on there quite often. You're very welcome to join my Belinda Silbert page as well. There's a public one, and also my individual profile, Belinda Silbert. Thank you, EJ, for this wonderful opportunity. It has really, really, really been special to be with like-minded people, like-minded souls. And so I can say it's a real treat, and I hope that I get to know more of you and to be able to chat more. And thank you, Celia, too.
Thanks, Belinda, for blessing us with this time and, this wonderful discussion and meditation. I can just say to everybody that I have attended one of your services, a healing service, and that was so wonderful. And, of course, we get to hear you sing, so that was another blessing as well. So I can highly recommend for anyone who would like to attend one of your services.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. And yeah, we would love to see you again.
I would be really privileged to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
I hope to see you on my Facebook page. I would love to interact with everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless everyone. Thank you.
You too. Namaste.
Stay.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Bye-bye, Kristen.